So the next one here is, why do I freeze in front of my boss or clients?
Okay, this is definitely one of my favorite ones. So let me first explain maybe why this happens from a physiological standpoint to give the audience a little better idea of maybe why this happens to understand where it comes from. So if we think about our ancestors, right, thousands of years ago, they had to they had to experience very dangerous, life-threatening experiences almost on a daily basis, whether it's lions, tigers, bears, other cavemen, that they're trying to fight. So their main objective was to stay alive, right? And the brain was smart enough that said, hey, whenever we perceive danger, whenever we perceive a threat, we're going to help you out by secreting all these hormones into your blood, into your system, right, such as adrenaline and cortisol. And what these do physically to us, right, is they'll increase our heart rate, increase our breathing rate, make our hands sweat, make us, have dry mouth. I'm sure we've all experienced these before a big presentation or a big meeting, anything in that sort. So simply what's happening is we're interpreting our boss as a threat. Our brain is seeing our boss as a fear and as a threat. So when we go into this response, it becomes the fight, the flight, or the freeze. And you either fight the danger, you run away from it, or you play dead and you freeze. Like you see animals do it all the time. So with our boss, we can't really fight them. That shouldn't go over too well. We can only flee from them for so long. Eventually we're gonna have to face them. So when we do, so the only option that we have left is kind of freeze, where we're just almost emotionally and physically shut down. We feel like maybe we get tongue twisted. We don't know what to say. We forget everything we wanted to say to them when we approach them. So really what's happening is it's just a simple, it's just really a physiological reaction that's happening to our body that we're not processing well. And it's scary and it's a terrible feeling. But really it's just our brain's way of just protecting us from this fear or this threat that is our boss.
And once we know that, how does that help us in the situation when we're in front of our boss or clients?
Yeah, so I think by understanding why it's happening, right? I tell my clients, like, hey, like, all we can do is like thank our brain. Thank you for trying to protect me. I appreciate your help, but I know this boss isn't scary, right? It's a little deeper work. It's maybe why are we perceiving our boss as such a big threat, right? So it's like, thank your brain, thank you for trying to protect me, but I know this isn't as scary as we think it is. And once they kind of realize that and they're mindful of that, and they're mindful of, because I think more anxiety is created by the actual feeling of being frozen than actually understanding why it's happening itself. So once like, okay, here's the feeling again, here we go, I'm freezing in front of them. That becomes less scary or less, feeling when they understand why it's happening. So if we can just, because our body's going to respond that way, if we could just thank it and move on, and over time, as we're mindful of why that happens, it's going to become easier and less stressful.
Yeah, and then thinking it with like a deep breath and pairing that with breathing has been really important to make sure that we're really
Mm-hmm.
kind of either down regulating our anxiety by taking these really long sort of deep breaths in between words and pacing ourselves. And I like to focus on the pace of communication. So usually when we freeze, we are really trying to get our brains to run faster
Mm-hmm.
to try to overcome that anxiety. And so we have to do the opposite of that, which is we have to slow the brain down. And that means talk slower, think more thoroughly, take pauses, and also say what you're doing. That's interesting. Let me think about that for a quick second. Take a deep breath and respond. Most bosses are going to appreciate a thoughtful response rather than a ramble that is trying to find the response that you have inside of you. So I've noticed just being thoughtful and slowing down and breathing is really helpful because we tend to speed up trying to find solutions to like feeling nervous or solutions to finding the answers. And it also can just continue to rev up that anxiety that kind of lives in our heart and in our palms and all of those things. So I think really working on just presentation is helpful because, in a sense, we can act a certain way until we've internalized it, and we don't have to wait until we truly feel confident and 100% to go into the boss's office. We just don't have the time to do that. So they used to say fake it till you make it, but I like to say practice till you make it. It feels a little bit more of a growth mindset. So I think that that's really kind of helpful.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is kind of silly. I've done this a lot with athletes and actually professionals, and it takes some time to get used to. But I ask them for some metaphors. What is your personality in the office with your boss or clients? Like, are you a mouse? And is that mouse kind of timid and skittish? And who do you want to be? And do you want to be maybe more of a silent, strong presence, maybe like a deer or something? And how does the deer act when he walks in or she walks in? How does the deer respond? How do they hold their shoulders? And just try to kind of emulate who you want to be, because it gives you an opportunity to talk about who you want to be in a way that's not comparing yourself to like another human who you think is better than you. And it's nice because when you're in a meeting, you kind of just can feel kind of that animalistic response. Am I a mouse right now or am I a deer? And trying to act as if for a while. It's silly, but I think sometimes we have to get silly because especially in performance, people take themselves too serious all the time.
Very.
So it's like, let's just get rid of that seriousness. Let's have some playfulness. Like, let's have some fun, kind of go there with me for a minute. And most people at first are like, no, I'm not doing that. But like by the end of the session, they say, I can't wait to go home and ask everyone in my family what kind of animal they are, what kind of animal they want to be. So it's fun. You just kind of have to like let it roll for a bit.
I do that as well. It's almost using that metaphor, becoming something else, right? Sometimes it's like, okay, if you're scared to do it, let's let the deer do it, become that deer. And when they kind of take on this persona of something else or somebody else, it's like they become more confident. It's like they step out of their shell of who they really are or what they are. And it's like, okay, now you have help. Now it's you and the deer and this persona, and you guys together are going to be able to come out and be more confident.
Yeah. And I'm going to hold my tongue because this is the professionals webinar. But when we do the athletic webinar, I'm going to talk a little bit about a boxer that I know and what she would do to get into the ring and change her persona completely around from who she was before the ring and then when she got into the ring. And similar to a wrestler that I've worked with, like who he changes into on the mat. So we can definitely do that in the professional realm too. So I think it's just kind of fun to show people that therapy doesn't have to be so serious and so intense. Sometimes we can be fun and human and just kind of chill out a little bit.
Absolutely.